Okay, let's see if this is working. Did not fix my hair. I don't think this is how streams are supposed to start. But I don't think I'm really prepared for starting a stream. I know what I'm going to talk about to close out the Kickstarter. It's the last night of the campaign. Am I really tiny on this screen? No, I can't tell. It's the last night of the campaign. It's going to close in, well, let's see actually. It's going to close in 12 hours. I don't know if all that's coming through. Trying to make it so you could see the whole screen, but I don't think that's working. There we go. Yeah, okay. 12 hours. So 8 a.m. tomorrow, Pacific time. The campaign will be over after 20 days. We ran it for 20 days, which is not the longest time. Kind of a standard time now, 3 weeks. 1 month is long, especially for an indie campaign if you don't have a ton of momentum to build off of throughout the campaign. And we successfully funded. We funded really quickly in the first couple hours, which was really awesome to see, and made the whole experience a lot less stressful. And I'm super happy and grateful that this campaign is funded. So if you backed it, if you shared it, if you're just interested in it, thank you. The support has been really cool to see. I'm really excited to make this game, to actually get it printed. This last year or so for me, starting last year, was all about producing things, actually getting projects made after having a lot of projects fall apart or fall into limbo. I really wanted to focus on what I could self-publish and self-produce. And Maps and Mishaps was the first game I created with the intention of self-publishing it. And now it's finally going to come out 4 years later. It was definitely a learning experience, but it's turned into a really cool game. It was a lot of fun to play and play test it. I'm excited to get it out to people and to have enough copies to take with me to conventions and start tabling and selling, because I've been around the convention circus for a long time. I went to my first con in 2011, I want to say, and pretty much continued to regularly attend conventions ever after my first major con in 2011. And I've worked booths and helped sell comics, but I've never worked my own still, which is crazy. I did not think I would be, 15 years into my career after my first con and not having table. That was way too long, is way too long. I'm glad to fix it, even if I'm going to be selling board games and going to board game shows. I have found a really big passion for designing games. I think it lines up with the part of me that loves games and role-playing games in particular, like Dungeons and Dragons, and Edge of the Empire, the whole Fantasy Flight Star Wars system. And just started to fall in love with role-playing games in high school, but never really thought about designing for them. And it wasn't until in 2018 that I actually started designing for D&D and publishing on the DM's Guild, and eventually getting hired to do some third-party content for like Cartoon Network and stuff, and tackling bigger independent projects, that I found I really liked the design aspect. I liked the way that storytelling can be expressed through game mechanics, through design. And I created a bunch of D&D projects I was really proud of and happy with, but I didn't want to spend all my time designing D&D stuff. I wanted to design original things. But it took more time to get to that realization than it probably should have, because I've always been in this to tell my own original stories. And yes, I love working on other stories. I'd love to work on more other stories, but the ultimate goals are to get to share the stories that I want to share in whatever form I imagine them. And I'd been doing that with my writing for a long time, or trying to do it as much as you can. Um, and in 2021, after 3 years of making D&D content and D&D videos and stuff like that, I had a conversation with a fellow designer, and he asked me why I didn't approach making games with the same mentality that I approach uh, with the same mentality that I approach my writing. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out if I can see if there's anybody in here. I know there is a chat if anyone wants to say hi, but I'm not expecting there to be anybody. Kind of an awkward cliffhanger moment. Let's see. Well, it'll be all right. So that question that he posed me of why I wasn't approaching my game design with the same goals and mentality I was approaching my writing really struck me, and I found I didn't have a good answer. And I liked the game design so much that why couldn't I make something that was original, that was trying to that was reflective of the types of stories that I like to tell. It wasn't just constrained to the sandbox that was D&D, even though that's a super fun sandbox that, you know, is really fun to design for and has a really great community. And that led to Maps Mishaps. I started ideating. I started thinking about the kind of project that I wanted to make and what I wanted it to be a story about. And I came to the notion of travel, of a game about journeys and about exploration. And it started as a much more dramatic game, but through playtesting, through rounds and rounds of designs, it became something more lighthearted, more comedic, leaning into the improv, silliness, the fun, and still delivering on this problem that I had, that I realized I could create a game to solve, which was having a one-shot system I could use to introduce people who are new to role-playing games to RPGs, and also have it be something that didn't take a lot of prep, because I tended to prep a lot for my games, and I got good at not needing to, but I liked prep. I liked the richness that prep gives you, that any kind of preparation for a game gives richness to the setting, right? If you prepare effectively, it's things that you get to bring in as a game master to your table that make the experience more immersive and more interesting. And so I wanted a zero prep game that didn't lose that. And taking inspiration from a really amazing game called The Quiet Year, I decided to go with a system of prompt cards that you would draw along the way, answering questions about your setting, developing it as you go. And that kind of open flexibility meant that you could play in any world or setting, right? World, setting, or genre. That's been a big, tagline for the game. And I love that flexibility. We create the fun of going on the adventure was complemented now by an additional type of fun of creating a world. And it could be a brand new world, right? Like the silly suggestions that turn into really fantastical games, like being in an underwater rock band and stuff. That's super fun, and like a big part of the fun of the game. You get to all share the joyous part of DMing without the other parts that can be more challenging, like bookkeeping or prep or complicated rule systems, because the rule system here is also meant to be really simple and meant to be accessible to new players. And I got ready to launch it pretty quickly. I was initially going to launch this game in 2022, I want to say. It might have been 2021, but I think it was 2022. Maybe it was 2021. I don't know. I was ready to launch it and just do a digital-only release, but it didn't happen. There was complicating factors, and it took me a while to get back to the game. But when I finally came back to it, I finished polishing it up, finished what needed to be tidied on the game, and set my sights on doing a Kickstarter. And that was has been kind of a nerve-wracking proposition. I did my first Kickstarter in 2011. I was 18. I was doing it out of my college dorm room and had friends like film the video for me. And that Kickstarter was successful. It was early on in the days. I was really excited. I saw it as a, great tool that it could be, but issues with the production of that comic where, I was young and I hadn't signed contracts with the artists. And so once we started the project, the artist got another paying gig and chose to take that better paying gig over the work that I had. And I had to find somebody new who could do it with the budget that I had available from the Kickstarter. And it took like 6 months to find somebody. And then we needed a bunch of time for the actual production. And in the end, it was about 2 years before copies were actually in hand. I did not want to repeat that experience. We will not be repeating that experience here because the project's already done. Everything is complete. So I just need to finalize those files in terms of doing the last check on them for typos and proofreading and things like that. And then we'll be sending them to the printers and getting them printed. And my plan and my hope is that we will be delivering the digital rewards in May and delivering the physical rewards in June at the latest, hopefully. Honestly, if we can get them out earlier and you can start receiving some of that in April, that'd be great. But May and June is what we're targeting and what seems conservative and safe. And it's been great to see that the Kickstarter succeeded. It's, I feel like I'm in a lot of ways starting over in my career. It's interesting to echo your beginnings 15 years later. But I have a lot more skills now. I have a lot clearer vision of what I want to do, what I want to spend time on, and what I want to build. And Maps Mishaps is such an important block of that. I'm really proud of what it represents in my journey as a game designer and getting to explore a part of interactive fiction that I didn't know I enjoyed. It heralded a lot of different developments for me, including getting into video games development. I've always played video games, but getting into video game development and wanting to see more of the narrative design side over there, getting involved with a LARP and designing for LARP, and so learning about that kind of interactive design. I think it's really opened up a whole new field that I'm really passionate about and that I see myself producing in a long time, which, it's not like I needed more projects to do. But for all the games that are out there and for how rich the indie TTRPG scene is, and just RPG scene in general, there are still so many games out there that don't exist, that I want to play, that don't exist, that I think are cool, that I think are evocative, and I really want to bring them to life. And so being able to successfully fund a game like this was proof that, that it's possible, that I can kind of keep doing this. I released a couple digital only projects last year, and this year I'm hoping to release another one by the end of the year. But now we're going to have this book. We're going to be able to take it to conventions. We're going to be able to sell it online, and hopefully get more people to play Maps and Mishaps and have just a nice one-shot engine in their arsenal, a different system for quick, simpler games, with still a lot of creativity and still a lot of the fun of role-playing games. And the wide release won't be until after everyone's, all the copies have been sent out, so that'll probably be either June or July also. But that's not that long from now. If we look back to starting on this in 2021, a few more months is not that long from now. And for all intents and purposes, we've already succeeded. I'm really, really grateful for the support. If we jump back here, 114 backers is really great. Over $4,000 raised. We, got to 160%, I think, or something like that, which is just really awesome. And it was fun to get to be a part of Zine Quest. I think this campaign turned out really nicely, and I am glad that, enough of you were excited to support me, support the project, thought the project looked interesting, wanted to play the game. I think you'll get a lot out of it. I think it'll be a fun, different kind of system for you to explore. Heavy on procedure, but low complexity mechanics, and just a really great on-ramp to role-playing games. Or if you already are familiar with them, it's a very flexible free-form track that you can kind of build into anything you want. there's the caravan, which I didn't get to talk about much during the campaign, but for every 2 backers, I'm going to be making 1 digital community copy of the game available for free. And look, saying that might be a little counterintuitive, because if you know you can get a copy for free, maybe you don't care about backing the game. I get that. I'm choosing to believe that you're, supporting because you want to help make the project a reality. The community copies are going to be there for people who just don't have the means right now to buy a game to still get to enjoy Maps and Mishaps. I made it so people can play it. And I love the idea that the community of people supporting the game now are making it possible for that community to grow even bigger. Yeah, so with 114 backers, we're going to have, 60? No, that's not right. 57 community copies available, which is great. I think that's something to be really proud of. I'm hopeful that it gets more people to try out the game and to take a risk on the system and run it. And hopefully they'll find it as delightful as I did. Hopefully you'll find it as delightful as I did. That's kind of what I wanted to do here. I wanted to do a brief little retrospective on the process of getting this game from start to finish. And it's supposed to be a toast. I don't have a drink to toast with. I have my water. I want to toast to all the backers of the campaign, and I'm going to be reading a bunch of names out now and giving some thanks to people who've been instrumental to the campaign's success, which is each and every one of you, but especially my collaborators on the project. I had Chris Montgomery on edits, Nathan Paoletta doing the layout, T-Catch and his brother Josh doing the cover, with some additional cover art for the quick start by Bob Q, a great interior art piece by Bowen, Lizzie Lahuda on the reference sheet, and Rubri on the reworked logo after the original logo was by Cubics. I was really lucky to have a team that was really excited about the project, that was, invested in the fantasy that we're building of this flexible, any world, zero prep, no GM game system, and made important contributions to making it as good as it could be. I definitely could not have pulled it off alone. It would definitely be nowhere near as good. It would not be as clear, as digestible, as easy to look at, pretty to look at if I had done it all on my own. So thank you to each and every one of them. To the playtesters, I want to thank Jake, Natalie, Charlie, Tall, Yasha, Kevin, Thor, Amanda, Josh, Landon, Sam, Harrison, Abby, Hector, Moira, Travis, Ashley, and Terry Ann. Thank you all for all the help playtesting the game. And finally, to the early birds who supported the project from the very beginning in those first couple days. You will be receiving the limited edition collector's art card with the art from the quick start cover, which are going to look really, really nice. I'll probably do an update on that later. But there were so many of you that, decided to help us out early, and I really appreciate that. It means a great deal. So here we go. Nick Monteleone. Oh yeah, and forgive me on the last names. I know some of you and I still might pronounce your last name wrong. Ryan Racy, Kevin Levy, James Gemmel, David Crocker, Charles Allen, Ben Ricks, Jeffrey Brandel, Mike Gilson, John H. Bookwalter Jr., Mitch Duckman Peters, James Boychuk, Hugh Tran, The Initiative Inn, Chris Montgomery, Cloud Kicker, Destiny Forward, Jake Stanley, Thorne, Shannon McMaster, Athena, Jose, Thomas Henschel, Space Hobbit, Tom Davidson, and Brian Young. I think that's everybody, but there's a very good chance that I missed a name or two. Let's see. Someone just put in R. I don't think I said Nate Capra, Owen Gwynn, Courtney Croft. Let's see. Fegnax. Hopefully that sounds like a bad word. Amphialis. Alan Kropf, Martine Malul. Ray Chow, Amrit Birdie. Let's see. Anne Marie Barron. That's my grandma. Thanks, Grandma. Uh, is it Logan Arabian, Chris Northrup, PCB Entertainment, Christine Hasse, JT Suckaforth. That's not the right way to say that. Suckaforth? I don't know. Alex and Phil. Thank you guys all so much, really, for participating in this, for being part of the first game that I've published on Kickstarter. I think there's, a lot of great things to come. I'm excited for you to get the game in hand and be able to play it. And I think that's where we'll leave it. So if I had to drink, this is where I'd be toasting. Here's to you, but just know you have my heartfelt thanks, my sincere gratitude. I'm really, really grateful for your support.